Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first and hopefully not the last of the Generic Gaming Podcast. Today we're covering what's been happening with CDPR, how Indian parents see gaming. We will talk a little bit about Indian video game development, and finally we have a few games for you guys to try out. Alright, let's get to it. First up, we have CD Projekt Red. Anyone want to kick this off? Smoke, Lucifer. You guys interested to talk about what do you guys think of CDPR just when Witcher launched? Witcher 3.
Yeah,
What do you
easily.
think of CDPR?
Yeah.
Yeah, continue.
What do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
think
Go
about
ahead,
then?
Smoke.
No, you continue.
Okay, so Witcher series, I've played all the three games, and I can easily say they are probably the best trilogy of the games I've played. And Witcher 3 in particular was like a game of a lifetime for me. So I have a good amount of likeliness for the developer. So the biggest thing I like is the fact that they have a good reputation, which a lot of developers don't have today, and they have stayed true to that in all their games. Uh,
I
excuse me.
Yeah, so they have a reputation to maintain, and up
Yeah,
until Cyberpunk, they managed to do that. They managed to maintain it.
maintain
But
it, and yeah, and they have always delivered on their promises, especially in terms of content and gameplay. Is what I feel.
yeah,
I would also say they are not probably what you would call path breaking or some kind of evolutionary game makers or anything. They just stick to the stuff they are good at and just keep killing it. That is what they do. So they are good at making story oriented games uh, and decent gameplay. I would say even the combat system in Witcher is, even in the community, it's debated till date that it is clunky, and some people say it is smooth, it is good. I
I
would
mean,
say somewhere in the middle.
for the type of game it is, I think it's quite alright. The combat
Yeah, I don't have a
in The
problem
Witcher
with it
3.
actually. Coupled with mods, it actually works very good.
Yeah, if you like
And
compare
I've
it to The
never.
Witcher 3, which has
Hmm.
a terrible combat system.
Okay, you're
So,
talking about Witcher 3. I was
I'm sorry, The
actually
Witcher
okay
2.
with.
Sorry, yeah. I
Witcher
meant
2.
The Witcher
Okay.
2. Yeah, Witcher 2
Hmm.
has a really, really bad combat system.
Yeah.
Now
What
that I
about
would
Witcher
call really
1?
bad. Witcher, Witcher 1 is more of like timing based. So there's these, you have to have perfect timing. So
Yeah.
it essentially becomes like a timing game, which is not what I enjoy at all.
But still a great story and good play though.
The
I mean,
story is great.
if you're really into the series, if you're really into the lore, I think it is a great way to start.
hmm. And they also
Definitely.
released
Yeah,
Gwent.
so Gwent,
I
I actually don't have a lot of experience. Probably Smoke can contribute.
Yeah, so the Gwent in The Witcher 3 and the standalone, which one do you
Witcher
want me
3.
to talk about?
I
The
so
standalone.
yeah, the standalone because you are pretty highly ranked. So
Yeah, so standalone is doing well right now. I won't say it's doing badly, but certainly recently, there's been a couple of expansions. There's been lots of questions asked and no answers received. And recently, after this whole Cyberpunk fiasco, we just feel the community as a whole, we just feel kind of left out. That's just how it is right now.
wait, so
Because we
Gwent has lost developers because of Cyberpunk, because of
no, I think there is no relation, but I think the whole hacking situation has impacted the company
oh
a
okay.
lot, right?
Hmm.
So recently they started taking time off of development of Gwent.
Hmm.
So we haven't we got after the expansion. There's supposed to be balance patches next month, but they had to delay it by 2 months because there was not enough development time.
Hmm.
They couldn't allot more time. So yeah, so certainly this whole thing with the hacking, everything, it's impacted the entire company,
Yeah.
and, mhm. and
If I'm not wrong, I
yeah,
think a couple of uh, developers also have come out and spoken against the crunch and all that. I'm not particularly sure if it's in 100% positive or negative way.
Hmm.
Could be bad apples just trying to cash in on this whole drama, or could be people who are genuinely were like had proper
crunch
crunch.
happens. Crunch happens,
Mm.
sure. It's also been blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
There's two
Yes,
sides
yes,
of the coin,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. So
So
as
yeah,
far as I know, Poland, unlike India, says that if you make someone work overtime, you have to pay them at a minimum
Yes,
extended rate.
yes, they get
I'm not
paid
sure
for
about that.
every Saturday they worked. From
Yeah.
what I've closely followed it, so they were not forced or anything. I think it was they were compensated pretty well, if
Hmm.
I'm not wrong.
That's what. Crunch is undeniable. When there's a fixed timeline, there's going to be crunch. There's no doubting that. But it's the
Yeah,
question of, were you forced to do it? Were you not paid to do it? Stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a moral gray area, but yeah, it's not like it's unavoidable. We should try to avoid it,
Hmm.
but yeah, it certainly doesn't excuse. You know.
It doesn't excuse bad planning and management, but it's also not like they were mistreated. Like
yes,
if you're working overtime, are you doing it for free? If no, that then the blow is significantly less. Sure,
yeah,
you lost time with your family, but it's not like you were forced to do it free of charge, like we see quite often here in India.
yeah.
Wasn't there some news regarding that a lot of their payouts, their bonuses would be based on reviews and things like that too?
Oh yeah, correct.
But that's how it is always. Even if you like look at, I think was it New Vegas, Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
Correct.
So yeah, Bethesda decided that they would get raises according to the Metacritic score. So and I
Oh,
think it was they needed a 85 and up
Yeah.
to get raises,
Not
and they
raises,
didn't manage to do
bonus,
it.
because
Bonuses, yeah, bonuses.
New Vegas
Yeah.
wasn't Bethesda, it was Obsidian.
Yeah, it was Obsidian,
Hmm.
and Bethesda licensed the
Yeah.
franchise to them. By the way, New Vegas is the best Fallout game by
Yeah.
far.
Yeah, it was a lot more. It was buggy even by Fallout standards, but Obsidian did one hell of a job.
No, it's unmatched to
Hmm.
date. There's so many possibilities in that game. It's insane. Like the Witcher games don't even come close to the amount of choice that game has. That is another level of choice and consequence.
Oh geez, now you're making me want to play Vegas. Thanks, man.
Yes, you have to. You have to wait. It's really good that game. Yeah, one of my top three definitely for sure.
All right, let's move it along. So, how many? Like, I'm pretty sure nearly everyone here played Cyberpunk.
Or bits of it that the game allowed us to play without bugging out. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the thing. What did you guys find? Like, how many bugs did you hit, and did it change your impression of CDPR significantly?
Uh, so I don't really have much experience with The Witcher 3 because I ended up stopping it. The whole combat situation didn't really gel with me, but the questing was great.
Hmm.
So I had kind of hopes with Cyberpunk,
Hmm.
and it started off on a really good note. And I have to be honest, I'm really biased towards the whole Cyberpunk theme.
Hmm.
So I had like really high hopes to it. I love the world, how they created it. There was a lot of things happening in there. It was multi-layered and everything. But the actual gameplay itself, I would say about post 10-hour mark,
Hmm.
I was one of the unfortunate ones who started seeing bugs like T-posing, clothes flipping out, cars just, bumping into assets and
Hmm.
going off the road. It almost stopped me from playing at that point, and I ended up actually stopping it. So yeah,
Ah,
that was about a heartbreaking experience for me. But I'm hoping they do fix it with the big patch, and I definitely want to jump on that wagon again.
Smoke. You finished it, right?
Yeah, I've beaten it once. I didn't really encounter many bugs. I've encountered minor ones like graphical glitches, cars bugging out,
Hmm.
but nothing really major that disrupted my experience. Except this one bug which had this quest was broken. One of the fighting quests, the boxing quests were broken. Otherwise, actually no big like game breaking bugs. So my experience wasn't bad, I would say.
Actually,
I mean problems are
thanks for bringing up the
yeah,
boxing quests. I think they're
yeah.
broken by design. I think they expect you to be really high powered to fight to even do those matches properly.
Oh yeah, yeah. That you have to have gorilla arms to do them. Like
Yeah.
they expect you to own gorilla arms to do those
Oh,
fights.
okay.
You're not supposed to. Yeah, it becomes much easier with gorilla arms.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's their way of telling you to branch out in the tree. Don't just go for hacking or just
No, you
stupid
cannot.
loadouts.
There's no hacking in that. Like it's really stupid because you
Yeah.
get gorilla arms at level
Right.
20, which is very far into the game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
before that, it's going to be a really big challenge to actually do those quests. That's just
Yeah.
stupid design.
Hmm.
That's what the game tells you, right? Like focus on the other elements too. Now go to the physical melee tree, upgrade that, and then you can proceed.
No, the tree has nothing to do with it. It's just the quests cannot. It'll be very hard to do the quest with normal gear. You need upgraded gears from a Ripper Dock to
Right.
do those quests.
For those
Speaking
listening,
of, how did you guys find
sorry, Willow,
how'd you
continue.
guys find the melee combat in the game?
Nah, not good.
Bad.
It was okay. I wouldn't say it was like what do you call it, fluid mechanics or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was not too
Um,
bad. It was just like how do you say, how do I put it? It was fine. It was not too bad. It
I
was
wouldn't
not too
even say
good.
it's fine. Like it was really bad,
Yeah.
really bad. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can't
So
really. I mean, you should expect it, but yeah, I mean,
I'd say for me, the best fighting mechanics I had was from the Arkham series games. Probably the dodge and combat and all. I think that was way better. But again, that is a whole different third person, different genre of game. But this was kind of weird, to put it properly. I would say it was weird. Like I never did melee combats.
Yeah.
It was almost shooting or hacking with me.
100% skip melee combat.
It felt like they
Yeah.
wanted to add that parry mechanic, like, hey, you can do this too. But then the execution just wasn't there, was it? Did anyone ever actually end up parrying anyone?
No.
No. Blocking was probably not used at all. I
Yeah,
just
so
had to try it out of
parrying
curiosity
is
because yeah.
no, continue.
Because
Okay, I'll listen.
it was taught in the what do you call it, tutorial, and I just had to check it, like does it really make sense, and it doesn't make sense. You can just double tap a key and move, right? You can just dodge
Yeah.
the
Dash out of
fight.
the
You
way.
can just keep punching the guy, and if you have gorilla arms or if you have good uh, level in physical abilities, I don't think it matters at all.
So parrying essentially is just blocking. There is no parrying in the game. They
You're
blocking.
talking about the swords, okay.
Yeah, so
Mm.
parrying is just blocking. There's no actual way to parry an enemy. When you parry someone, that just means you're gonna block their attack.
Yeah.
Didn't they also? I mean, there were rumors floating around that they reworked the melee combat from ground up because they weren't satisfied with it at first, right? I'm not sure how true that is, but from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like any of the, let's say, punches hit properly. It seems like you're basically combating the air.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
of course, it's a very difficult thing to do when it comes to first-person melee combat. I feel because it's pretty weird, let's say. But I'm comparing it to, say, Killing Floor 2, where there's
Yeah.
there's a whole skill tree for melee combat, and it's a 2016 game, right? Somehow they seem to have done it better.
It is satisfying. I think that is one aspect that we have to take. Like you brought up Killing Floor 2, the melee combats were so satisfying. Like when you executed a kill, it felt so satisfying. Here, it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like you're just pressing a couple of buttons. It doesn't feel very smooth and satisfying.
So would you say the game is geared towards gunplay rather than melee combat?
If I have to be honest,
Right. Like being the whole cyberpunk futuristic, I think like the hacking was like the big thing. They were hoping people
Right.
to solve.
It's supposed to be the big thing, right? But even that is not really done that well. I would
as
say
much as
the
I like
biggest.
CDPR, I think the problem here is they tried to be everything,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they tried to be jack of all trades, and they ended up being jack of all trades. Like you said, the hacking is not really that great once you figure out how to do it. It's extremely easy, and the gunplay also, I feel like it is not. It is okay. I mean, it's good. Some of the guns are good. I haven't played in a month, so I forget the class. The tech and all is actually pretty good.
Tech weapons.
I would say that they don't really excel at anything. Like
Yeah.
one particular thing that excels in,
Thing
I
is-
would say it is
yeah.
non-existent.
They have a formula. So I saw this in a YouTube video. What it was The Witcher 3 had this formula, as in you're in the woods, right? And you have a certain amount of time before you see something happen. Like in The Witcher 3, I think it's like 8 or 10 seconds. In Cyberpunk, they follow the same formula, but in Cyberpunk, it's not the woods; it's just a city.
Hmm.
So now a
Hmm.
lot of the places in the city seem deserted.
Hmm.
Like if
Hmm.
you go through the alleyways, you will not find anything. If you go to Pacifica, the mall, the whole
Hmm.
entire place around it, there's absolutely nothing
Yeah.
to look at. And if you try to like look beyond like the curtain that they've put up, like go interact with the NPCs, you'll just find disappointment. So yeah,
Hmm.
this it's just
That's what I think. The only saving grace that is obviously a saving grace is that how well done the stories for the side quests are.
yeah, they are well done.
Yeah, they really know to put some kind of soul into the story. Even the main story, so far as I'm in, I feel like the side stories and main story, they really like know their writing pretty well. They have really good writers, and they really make you
So
care about the characters. Even
Hmm.
if you don't really, if they're not main story characters, you really care about them. This was the same for Witcher 3 as well.
hmm.
Hmm.
But what I would say about the main stories after beating it, I don't think it was geared towards Johnny Silverhand in the beginning. They've added him in later. When I
I
think
saw
Keanu joined
this. I
them,
read this
right?
somewhere.
Yeah, when
Mm.
Keanu joined them, I think they've
Mm.
completely overhauled his character.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of his
Do you
stuff
think
seems.
they would have benefited if it was like if they
I
had done
can't
it
say.
otherwise?
Can't say really because you'll have to like you can't because that hasn't been released yet, right? We don't know which one would have actually been better. I mean, it's definitely well done, but yeah, they
Mm.
definitely gave Johnny Silverhand a very big role, much bigger than I like him to be. He's very involved in the story. Without
Mm.
spoiling stuff, so much I get.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can understand that because I'm playing it so far. Like he comes every while and he keeps eating your head. Like do this, do that.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, it's not
can't.
bad,
Yeah,
but I feel like he's very, very involved. You don't really get to make a uncoerced decision. Like he will have an influence on your decisions, is what I felt for anything.
yep, yep. He's always that annoying guy, but thing is,
Mm.
he's very until the end. He's going to be a very big part of the story. I
Mm.
can't really say much more without spoiling. So I'm going to stop.
Yeah, that's fine. And that brings me to the hack because now I've got a few things with the hack. First is that the group who did it is called Hello Kitty.
Okay.
That ticked me
Very
off
hardcore
right
right
there.
there.
I laughed at that piece. Two
Hex,
is
is that you?
probably it could
Yes.
be Willow. Let's not give her too much. Two is that they actually moved the code for $7 million.
Oh my god.
Oh,
That the hacking group they sold the
Yeah.
yeah.
code for 7 million. And well, when I say move the code, I mean they move the code, the files, the HR
I
files,
mean,
and
how
everything.
did Hello Kitty manage to breach the defenses? That's what baffles me. Like, don't they
Yeah.
have like a cybersecurity team? What's going on? How can how can a dude
Irony,
who's
the irony
typing?
is
They probably had a better hacking mechanism than Cyberpunk the game did, I suppose.
He's
that
just
would be ironic.
I know.
they
I
have literal
swear.
kids hacking. Like, the note literally said you just got pawned, mate.
Yeah. You've been epically pawned. Exactly.
Oh god.
But I'm really suspicious. Who could this buyer possibly be?
It's very casual. Brings me back to Gwent. Like these developer streams we have,
Hmm.
they have a lot of these like college graduates coming and sitting down and explaining stuff to you. So they'll be sitting in their bedroom in their really casual wear explaining the state of the game. It's really informal and
Hmm.
really unprofessional
Yeah.
the way they do stuff.
That's actually I think that makes them more relatable.
Yes, I think that's what they're trying to go for, but
Hmm.
at the same time it does come off as
Trying too hard.
unprofessional. No, I mean yeah, but mm, yeah,
Uh, so like I was saying, I'm
that's
wondering
how it is.
who bought the source code. Like I,
Um,
I can't find the point of the HR files and the legal files unless you're going to harass their ex-developers and current developers.
so just like the source code, the developers are the gold mine, I suppose. I mean, you could see, look at their work,
Hmm.
what they've been up to, and probably poach them
Actually,
as
that's a
in
good point. I didn't
opposition,
think of
right?
that. Correct. So it could be poachers. But then even 7 million's a lot. You know who's worthwhile at a company just from their previous work.
Hey, what if CDPR bought it back?
Ha, now that's what I was thinking.
What if
What
that
if they
happened?
bought, like, what if they paid an agent saying, here's the money, go buy it back? That's what
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
suspecting.
possibility.
That would probably make the most sense. Because if
Uh,
Bethesda someone bought it for 7 million, they can't use it. Because that will come under copyright espionage, I guess. I'm not sure what
a
it's
lot
called.
of it was leaked. Like they leaked a lot of Gwent stuff, so I actually know what the upcoming content is going to be like in Gwent.
Oh,
The
nice.
next three updates, yeah.
Do you want to give us a quick rundown of the content?
Yeah, so the next journey is going to be the Triss journey,
Hmm.
then Shani journey.
Okay.
Then there's going to be an event. It's going to be called a faction challenge. There's
Okay.
going to be all the factions are going to have a challenge.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what all that was leaked. That's it.
Okay. So not too big a news piece, but decently. Not tiny.
Yeah. No, I mean, at least it confirms a lot of stuff that.
Okay.
But that's all that was there in the source code of
All right.
note.
All right. Then should we move on to our next topic?
Yeah,
All
Yep.
right. All right. Hexen, Willow, you guys
yeah.
wanted to talk about
Yep.
Indian parents. Go for it. And their views on video games. All yours.
All right, Willow, girl gamers, you want to go first?
Yeah, so this has nothing to do with like me being a girl or anything, but I recently got a new laptop, right? And even though like I'm paying for the whole thing, I had to sort of tell my parents what exactly I needed it for, and I couldn't tell them that I needed it for gaming, right?
Right.
Because then they'd be like, "Oh no, why are you paying so much? Why are you
Mm.
wasting, quote unquote, a lot of money
Yeah.
into something that you're just gonna use to play, right?" So I had to tell them that I was getting 16 gigs of RAM for work. Thankfully, because they're not that tech savvy, they believed it. But yeah, ironically enough, even though they're like this now, they were the ones who introduced me to gaming, right?
Oh.
Like I got my PC when I was like I think 4 or 5, and we used to play Claw and Tarzan and all that jazz. But then as I grew older, um, they started like cutting down my time on video games by a lot, and I think that's because most of the Indian parents are very career oriented. Like if you're doing
Right.
anything, even as a pastime, they expect it to be something that'll help you in your career, or
Mm.
something that can help you make money easily.
Right.
At least that's been my experience with it most of the time.
So when they used to stop you from gaming, did they like tell you get back to studies or just like stop?
Yeah. So the thing is, there's this idea that gaming causes addiction, right?
Yeah.
And I won't say that there's no truth to that. I mean, there have been plenty of cases where it has, and it can if your habit of gaming isn't controlled, right? But
Absolutely.
somehow it's always pushed to extremes, right? Either sometimes parents are negligent, and they like let their kid play a lot, and they
Mm.
kind of become addicted to it, and gaming is the thing that's blamed, like
Yeah.
not the fact that the kid was not being taken care of, right?
Yeah.
That's I feel a big issue because it's the easiest thing to blame, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with this point that you mentioned. It going excess and overboard,
Mm-hmm.
and sadly, those are the cases that our parents come across the most, right? Through their WhatsApp forwards or,
Right,
the
right,
news and everything. Oh, kid spends money on PUBG, his father's pension.
right, right. WhatsApp
Kid falls sick.
Academy.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
Child falls sick from a 20-hour gaming session. And it's the sensationalization that comes across to them.
of
This is
course.
what
Yeah.
they're aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you are balancing your act, let's be it studies or work, or even your social life with gaming, but then that's what they are aware of. It's the
Yeah,
only thing they're aware of. So
yeah.
they push that on you.
Because a lot of the time, uh, it's only the negative stuff that gets portrayed, right?
Yeah.
It's almost all the time, in fact. And
That
when
gets
it keeps,
clicks. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it just keeps accumulating.
Yeah.
So I can't entirely blame the parents as well,
True.
because that's just how it's been portrayed a lot.
Right.
Be it like television, be it articles, like you see like all these soft media pieces in newspapers and stuff about how you should like start curbing your kids' video game activities like right now.
Yeah.
As if it's an inherent problem with gaming itself, right? I mean, too much of anything is bad by that logic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed. I'd also like to
Uh,
Another.
ask you guys
Oh,
this.
go on. Sorry.
no, please.
So, do you think, like, besides this,
Uh,
that it's the news, it's the WhatsApp Academy? I also wonder if it's that because, like, the last generation, they didn't have video games. Like,
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
so it's like fear of the unknown. Like,
Absolutely.
my
Yeah.
parents had video games, not when they were young, but to some extent. So they've never really had a problem with
Right.
me playing. But I think most of this country, just a computer probably wasn't mainline till the 1990s in a house. So I'm wondering if that's also causing another fear.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Willow?
No, I was just gonna say.
I can weigh in on this. The
Sure.
thing is, I would say some of most of your points kind of bring lead to a main point that the older generation has a habit of taking orders and not questioning the logic behind it, and that is something they've accustomed themselves to. So
That
that
is an
I have
excellent
seen,
point.
Yeah.
irrespective of, yeah. So gaming comes to that as well. Like their parents told them to do something, they did that. So they have they don't have a morally gray area. They have a morally white area. They have a morally black area.
Yeah.
So gaming is morally black. It's simple. So my parents have matured actually over the time because I have proved otherwise as well with the job and studies and all that. Studies not great, but anyway. So that is a part of what I'm right now, and it's totally fine. But I have also faced this, like gaming will be blamed for everything,
Oh, yeah.
like how the current generation is being blamed for with mobile. Like everything is
Yeah.
mobile's fault.
Right.
So that is one thing. Awareness, I don't know about the WhatsApp forward. I am not sure because this stigma was always there. If I'm not wrong, you guys can
Yeah.
weigh in on this because WhatsApp forwards have only been in the past couple of years, right? I would say it has added to the fire, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say it is not as much of an impact on this as the whole stigma together. Like this is one of the things. Let's say, for example, an extracurricular activity. If someone is good at singing or dancing, it would normally be like, okay, fine, you can focus on this also. But Indian parents would be like,
Yeah.
you do all this, but you don't study. It is
Yeah.
magically assumed that if you put 100 hours into studies,
Oh, yeah.
all kinds of population will achieve the same result. They don't have the idea that some people are just wired differently, some people have
Oh,
different
yeah.
interests.
Right.
So this aspect will carry over to gaming as well. Now just think about this. If some people are really interested in gaming, and as kids also, if they had been encouraged, we would have a lot of developers by now. Our generation should have.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, this is just shoulda, woulda, coulda. Okay, but still, right? I mean,
Right.
it is
Yeah.
possible. So that mentality is always there. I would say it is changing right now with the YouTubers, streamers, and all that.
Yeah.
But it still has a lot more to go. I think the maturity is still very low yield, if you ask me.
Let me
Yeah.
catch you on one of those points. So you said YouTubers, streamers, like we'll have more developers if gaming was more accepted. I would like to point we'd have a lot more people trying. Succeeding is a very different story.
Right.
Yeah.
For example, you see like a lot of subreddits, Facebook pages, etc. You'll see a lot of people saying that I want to get into streaming. What kind of computer should I have?
Hmm.
Mm.
And I'm like, these might be young kids,
Yeah.
they might be elders, but first of all, the chance of them succeeding is, let's be honest, it's tiny.
Mm.
Mm.
And
No,
two
no,
is
that is right.
that a lot of these people are getting into it with no idea. They've not done any previous study. And at this point, I'm not talking
Right.
about India only, I'm talking about the world over. They're like, oh, streamers are making so much money, I will get into streaming. That's not how anything works.
Hmm.
Mm.
Hmm.
So I think and this might be correct on the parent side, is that they fear that their kids are seeing money values and running into it, which is
Hmm.
one of the things I
Mm.
probably agree with parents saying that don't be stupid. Do you have at least any research telling me how you're going to grow the ladder, how you're going to get market share, how you're going to get viewers?
Yeah.
Of course.
So in that way, like because when they're doing it at a young age, they're wasting their parents' money, not theirs.
Right.
Exactly.
At
Mm.
our age, we're wasting our money, so it's a little bit better.
Mhm.
Not the brightest thing we'll ever do, but but we
Yeah.
are on this call, so
No, I mean, at one side, there's a tried and tested method. You uh, do like, for example, you do medicine.
hmm,
You have a very clear path to take, right? And
Mm.
hmm,
like from that it's mostly going to be successful.
hmm,
On the other hand, there's not enough success stories in case of streamers. It's very, very less.
hmm,
Uh, the more popular ones are you can count them,
yeah,
with your fingers.
Mhm.
That's how many there are,
hmm,
and that's not a good motivation for parents to start motivating their kids
hmm.
to go for it.
Yeah.
I get that.
What do you think the
I think
success
this all
ratio
just.
is?
Sorry, Lozo. Yeah.
Nothing. Just wondering what the success ratio might be. 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, like for streamers. I don't think it would
Right.
be a very nice number to actually figure out.
Oh yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
like Willow said, you can literally count them on your fingers. How many can you name them right now?
Yeah.
In the Indian ones that are successful, right?
On Indian ones, I'm literally at zero. World
Oh
over,
yeah.
I'm probably at seven.
Yeah, I was talking about world over
I don't
here.
think there are any Indian Twitch streamers if you think about it.
I mean, I can think of Kaliminati as being one of the really
He's
popular
like
ones.
YouTube, right? I mean, he is a streamer, sure.
Hmm.
He's expanding the platform, the gaming platform online. I
He's
mean,
more of like a global thing now. Like he's like Bollywood now at this point.
he's bringing attention to gaming, basically.
Hmm.
The
As
bad
an
kind of
Indian.
attention.
So
Yeah, that's attention I would rather not have for gaming.
Hmm.
but yeah, so just to expand on what you said about the whole thing that you invest time in it and everything, I think this whole thing stems from a while back. As someone who's lived 3 decades now,
Hmm.
I have seen my own father and my grandfather get into this something similar.
Hmm.
For my father, like he wanted to get into music,
Hmm.
and my grandparents they never were like approved of it. It was that generation's click,
Hmm.
that music is the kind of stupid thing. Go outside and play.
Yeah.
And then my father was secretly practice music and things like that.
Hmm.
And similarly with my grandfather,
Hmm.
he was like in a farmland, back in a country land somewhere, and they were made to force to work in the fields and everything. But he wanted to play cricket,
Hmm.
so he would sneak out and with one stick and one rock start practicing.
Hmm.
And this sort of like passes down now to my generation where I want to get into gaming.
Hmm.
But then that's looked down upon like, why aren't you focusing on family? Why aren't you focusing on work? Where is this leading you exactly? Are you getting anything out of this?
Hmm.
Now, how am I supposed to tell them that what your generation did or the one before that
Hmm.
started off the same way?
Yeah.
And this is happening. You need to at least try to understand it.
Hmm.
But then there's xenophobic at this point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to
Then
explain. Yeah,
this seems to happen a lot whenever, let's say, a new art form is introduced.
absolutely.
Yep.
Writing was very popular.
Hmm.
Then music and dance were very popular. It was
Yeah.
always there for a really long time. And then movies are like just now getting recognized and
Yeah.
as an art form in itself, right?
Hmm.
And I think gaming will too,
Hmm.
just not in India yet. It's gonna
Yeah.
take some time. But basically, if you look at it, it's all the same thing that, uh, or even more that what movies have, right? That they have writing, they have cinematography,
Hmm.
all that jazz, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
And
industry is significantly larger.
exactly. And another thing is how Indian parents value art. Um, let's be honest, a lot of parents love to show off.
Hmm.
So a lot of the reason
Mostly.
why uh, parents make their kids learn, let's say, music or dance, is because whenever somebody comes to visit, they can be like, yeah, dance for them or sing for them,
Yeah.
right?
Perfectly
Like it's
put.
it's
Yeah.
Yep.
it's not like they expect them to make a career out of it.
Hmm.
They're still gonna do medicine or engineering, but this is
Yeah.
just a side thing.
Hmm.
It's for their
It,
entertainment.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. They can basically show off. You can't do that with video games, though, can you? Because like
Hey,
nobody
that's a great
else,
point.
like
Hey son,
almost
look,
everybody
my
else.
son
Yeah,
is getting 30 kills in Call of Duty. Guys, have a look
Yeah.
at it. You can't do that much, can you?
yeah. What the
No, that's a
what's
great
Call
point
of Duty?
actually.
What?
That there is
Hey,
no
mom,
merit
I
for
made
them to show off in that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I made a furry.
Yeah.
And then that leads to money. So a point I've seen put across a lot is that gaming in India is very expensive.
Hmm.
And yes, it's true. However, have you seen the amount of money people put into, showcasing their dance recitals or whatever
Oh
that's
yeah.
called?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
lakhs of rupees.
Yeah.
Like, forget their talent. If they're talented or not, it's not an issue. They will spend tons of money to showcase their kids' dance for
Yeah.
one day.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
you're buying
yes.
So
costumes, you're spending on
yeah.
classes and everything,
Hmm.
and then you put together the shows in your community and all that.
Oh,
Yeah.
the costumes are separate. This
Yeah.
doesn't even cover the costumes. It's
Makeup.
10 lakhs minimum these days.
Mm.
Like I've been in Tamil Nadu for a while, and this was a huge deal over there. They used to have, I
Oh,
think they're called arangetrams or something, and
Arangetram. Okay.
they used to be
Yeah.
very popular. And yeah, like
For
that's the counterpoint to the money thing.
Yeah.
for 10 lakhs, I can get a few Threadripper systems, not one. Two
Yeah, that
It's
is a
not a
Threadrippers.
great
question
point.
of can they spend
Merit
it. It's
factor is
Hmm.
right.
do they want to spend it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah.
Their idea of what is good
Hmm.
Yeah.
versus what's not. Yeah.
Plus, the thing is, they're not ready to accept change, right? And they're very stubborn when it comes to things like this.
Hmm.
Because my parents have watched me play a ton of games. Some of them were violent, some of them were very, pretty and puzzles,
Hmm.
and, not even on the spectrum of violence.
Hmm.
But I was recently explaining to them the concept of streaming, and they're like, "Oh, people are gonna watch you like shoot other people." Like that's their idea of what gaming is.
Hmm.
That's literally their idea, and I was like, "No, let's not have that conversation. It's so much more than that."
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, this goes back to what they've been put in front of by the media and everything.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
you guys remember the whole thing that happened with GTA, right? It's promoting
Yo.
violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this has been going on forever,
Hmm.
and that's all they have
yeah,
been saying. They've been conditioned to look at games that way. It's
yeah,
associated with kids, and it's associated with kids doing violence,
Hmm.
things like that. Just a stigma behind it.
Yeah.
It's not the
The
beauty
kids
of
thing is
it, like
very
the art
real,
of
though.
games you mentioned. Sorry, Smoke?
No, continue.
No, that's it. Really, like that's all they see. So,
Hmm.
kind of understand where they're also coming from to that aspect.
Do you think it'll change now that
yeah.
the 4-year, 5-year-old kids are all learning coding?
Nah, I don't think that'll change
No,
much.
that's not going to change anything because a lot of the coding taught here cannot be used for gaming. You cannot use it to make a game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're taught Java here, which is fine for making something simple. You expect to get a job with any of the big hitters, unless you're making a mobile game, Java is useless. So,
Yeah,
like,
mobile
uh,
gaming is still the big thing here, isn't it?
hmm,
Yes.
that's the only thing here.
yeah, that's also true. Okay, yeah, my point's completely wrong. Correct.
I
Yeah.
But
do
I'm
feel
talking
it's a
about the
gradual
stigma,
start,
like
though. Yep.
getting into game developing, for example, if not
Mhm.
streaming. I would say streaming is more for awareness, like at least, you know, if kids explain this to their parents and they're like, okay, you can't approximately say how much a streamer is earning,
Hmm.
but still they get
Mhm.
awareness about the games and all that. But if they wanted to get into development and all that,
Hmm.
what kind of impact would this be? Like even remotely, like would they buy them a PC because coding is important? But I've seen the ad that shows you can code in your mobile.
Exactly. So that's what
I don't know how sure that exactly.
I don't think the
I
correlation will
mean,
happen to good hardware. Like you might get better
Huh.
phones, Raspberry Pis might sell better. Desktops,
Hmm.
laptops, I don't think they will grow from streamers. But that's just my opinion.
Uh, Zozo, I feel our generation and so forth
Hmm.
are probably the ones that are going to be getting more into development.
Hmm.
People who grow up completely playing games and go in that field probably are going to be the ones spearheading the
Yeah.
development phase, who do not want to quit on gaming
Hmm.
Hmm.
and who do not just accept anything that's out there.
Hmm.
Like, hey, you know what? I love gaming. I'm going to grow up and finally I'm a coder.
Hmm.
I'm a designer. I am going to get into gaming. And that's where, it all begins. So I do feel it is gradual. It is very slow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
But then,
but it's
like,
there.
yeah. And like
Yeah.
Sozo mentioned, computers in India itself came in the 90s, right?
Right.
It's been just not even 3 decades, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is a gradual start, but at the pace that the media is blowing up, even in a positive way,
Hmm.
and the way technology reaches everyone who want to partake in it, it's a good start. I feel
Hmm.
decent start at least.
Yeah. And like as much as I'm not fond of using a touchscreen, I think mobile is doing something. It's at least getting tech into the hands of the masses.
Oh yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Any kind of exposure to gaming,
Hmm.
is some form of exposure. It's gonna do something,
Yeah.
Yeah.
even though sometimes it's just negative.
Hmm.
That's part of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
yeah, part of the package, right?
Yeah. So you can't really fight, say only good things will happen, only bad things will happen. It's a
Yeah,
mixture. Like
Right.
it is gray, it's not black and white.
yeah.
All right. Anyone want to add to this?
Um, I just feel that everyone needs to, like parents, if they ever listen to this,
Hmm.
they really need to give their children a chance to this.
Hmm.
Because if everyone just always grew to be a doctor or an engineer,
Hmm.
there would be nothing else that would exist. There's no variety in life. If people didn't take these risks,
Hmm.
if they didn't want to branch out,
Hmm.
we wouldn't have so many other things. So
Yeah.
give them a chance at least,
Hmm.
Hmm. We'll have
before
a
you completely
proper
reject the idea
dystopia.
of gaming as well or getting into the industry as a gamer.
Hmm. The line reminded me of
I have a point to add to
Squid
Encouragement
this,
can
Game.
but
go a long way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't think this. My point will make any contribution, but I would say it's kind of a double-edged sword here. Like if you're talking about middle-class families, a decent PC might set you back a couple of bucks, but I would say, see, if someone is interested in gaming and not something else, like some people are interested in a high-end mobile, some people are interested in something else. They want to take serious music lessons, like you said.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But if they're not interested, I think they should be allowed to focus on this instead of like that way they can manage.
Oh yeah.
Because 100% trying on gaming, like you said, the probability of them becoming popular or make a career out of gaming
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
Hmm.
very, very less. But something to do on the side, something, of a hobby, they can start early and if they can get into it.
Yeah, it has to start as a hobby.
Yeah.
You can't directly jump into it. You look at
Yeah.
famous streamers, right? They all had streaming as a side job in the beginning.
Oh
Yeah.
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 Right.
And for
It's not.
families who want to experiment, we have Raspberry Pis, we have low-end systems. Like how much is a
Mm.
Pi going to put you back? 8,000 bucks, you have a fully functional computer, including monitor, keyboard, mouse, the works. So it's not cost of entry anymore. It's awareness about and the knowledge to enter.
Hmm.
Right.
Because everyone says, oh, you want to get into gaming. And then they look up the PS4 or PS5, 42,000 rupees. That's going to make a parent flinch. Versus you say
And every
8,000
game
bucks.
again will
Yeah,
set you back 3-4 thousand.
exactly.
See, consoles are marketed so well, people think that that's the best device to play games on.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they think like you want to game, like the best thing you would game on is a console.
Hmm.
I think every parent has this opinion,
Yeah,
which is that's how it is. And
Maybe
that's
it
what
also comes to being able to play with your friends and all that,
hmm.
because they
I
have
think
how much of an influence that makes. Your friends has a PS4, you get a PS4, and a
yeah,
couple of
that's
friends
true.
have.
That's
And
Mm.
Smoke, you have to remember one thing. Now, everyone here is technically sound. I know a lot of people who, when something happens to their computer, and I'm not saying blue
hmm.
screens, I'm not saying Windows boot failure, I'm saying
Hmm.
Word is taking long to start up. They go call up a
Hmm.
guy who'll come and charge them to fix it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
But I would argue that PC gaming now with Steam and such, it's almost as convenient as console. Like I've
It's
been a
very
console gamer,
accessible.
Yeah,
yeah,
but Bethesda
and
hasn't
it's
gone
almost the
bankrupt
same.
either, so Bethesda and CD Projekt are still around, so we've got different problems. As long as those two live, we'll need a repairman.
Yeah.
I have another point to add.
Sure.
So the thing about parents having a problem with gaming is one thing. So the people who want to make games,
Hmm.
I feel like they should get into it not to make money,
Hmm.
because it's an upcoming business, but it should have at least some sort of passion into it. Like,
Yeah.
don't just get into it just because it has potential,
Hmm.
because that can set this whole thing back.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be back to square one again,
Oh yeah.
because I think that's what 4G tried to do. um like, that's an entire big conversation, I get it, but
We're about to have it, so it's
the
fine.
short of it, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, they tried to do that, and look at how that ended up. And that's the game a lot of parents are aware of, the Indian game that a lot of parents are aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just
I'd say
check.
they still be proud of 4G because it was an Indian product.
Hmm. So I was just checking out the pricing for a game maker. It's probably the simplest tool, can run on just about any computer on the planet for game development. It starts at only $40, which isn't bad at all.
Hmm.
So $40 will
if
get you
it's
the.
on
Hmm. Sorry.
if it's on Steam, it should have regional pricing as well,
Ah no,
right?
these guys like game engines don't do regional.
The thing with this is like most
Oh,
people don't know about this, right? I didn't know about it till now. I had no idea this thing
Yeah.
exists. Right.
So I'm
So
developing in
yeah,
game maker, so that's why I know it
yeah,
exists. And
yeah. See, that's the thing.
hmm. And it's been used for quite a lot of good games. It's been used for Hotline, it's been used for Katana. So
yeah.
it's a pretty talented little engine.
Hmm.
So considering that we've hit now what, 10,000, 11,000 bucks to make a little developer thing for your kid? Like kid's first
Yeah.
development device. So yeah, I guess that works.
That's still quite a lot, but if he's actually passionate about it, this will definitely pay off.
Yeah, but 11 versus
Yeah.
70, that's the what I'm trying to point out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because a lot of kids will say that, okay, you want, like if their parents ask them, you want a desktop to try and make games, what all do you need? They'll say this graphic card who's probably starting at 30, this processor is probably starting at 60, because they don't understand the little components that you don't need such high-end stuff to start off. You need that at the end of
Yeah.
the cycle.
But what about getting something really good and keeping it for the longevity compared to upgrading every now and
But it's
then?
not that the simple system isn't good, right?
Hmm.
It's what you can
Okay.
make of it,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Like, there have been plenty of really amazing games that came out of that,
Yeah.
and that kind of proves that it is good.
Hmm.
It is enough, basically. And it's not like the other hobbies are cheap as well. Let's say if you're getting into art, if you're getting into digital art, you're gonna spend about as much or even more. Like, even if you're getting into traditional art, all the supplies are gonna cost you just as much,
Oh,
and you're gonna have to keep replenishing it as well. So
Correct.
yeah,
And
guess
Like
it's a trade-off.
high-end paints and all are expensive.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
hmm,
Dude, one of my hobbies is music, and which is one of the favorites of all Indians because they can flaunt that one.
hmm,
And can you imagine how much
Mm-hmm.
a PC and drum kit just cost? It's
no.
enough of the cost of a gaming PC with the 2060 in it.
So that would
So,
be what,
Right.
60, 70?
it pushes easily up to 70, 80, and then there's the other aspects that I have to get more sticks and keys and drum heads and all that stuff. You'll end up pushing lakhs in a few years easily.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay.
And this is one of the home that I'm speaking of. Not even like a really good one. And you could have a great PC for let's say even 2 lakhs, and that would be the end of it for at least a year or two, or a bit more than that. Well,
Definitely more than
depending
that.
on how greedy a person is, I suppose.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, so the price really escalates for every other hobby, like you
Hmm.
said.
Mm.
All right. Anyone else want to chime in, or do we close the topic? Because I think we've covered it in style. I'm very proud.
Yeah,
Hmm. So
I think we're done here.
actually, we had a third topic for today where I want to talk about Indian development studios, but I think we'll hold that for the next one because we've
Yeah.
already approaching an
Right.
hour now.
Hmm.
So, all right, let's just finish this off. Game recommendations. Come on, guys, hit me. Little indie, like small mid-end games that you guys want to recommend.
Ooh, I've got one. I've
Hmm.
got one. It's called Fez.
Ah.
It's a okay. In simple words, it's a puzzle platformer.
Hmm.
Very, very charming game. Very easy to get into. You can play it on almost anything. Um, it it looks on first glance, it looks like your like regular, uh, let's say 2D pixel art platformer,
Huh.
but it introduces perspectives
Hmm.
to it. So that's how it works. You change perspectives, and then you puzzle platform, and it does world building surprisingly well. It's more a game about exploration than about platforming itself.
Hmm.
And there's just so many like secrets and hidden objects and just so many things to do. It's very cute, very charming, very fun to play. I would definitely recommend it.
Solid. Hexen, your turn.
Yeah. So as someone who's been a complete AAA gamer coming from consoles and everything, the whole low end or indie games was a new concept to me, and I'm still discovering a lot of them. But I'm having a blast
Hmm.
playing Starbound right now.
Oh.
Yeah, and that game is an absolute delight.
Hmm.
I think it's one of those games you could even end up playing alone because
Hmm.
it's really rich in
Yeah.
story and
Hmm.
so much content in it. And I've tried Terraria too, but that has a bit of a learning curve and not easy to break into like Starbound.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've tried Starbound with a couple of friends now, and I want to make it like a thing now that at least once or twice a week I am playing it. It's a really good getaway from all the sweaty, tryhardy games that I normally play as well. So,
Starbound
Yeah.
is like local multiplayer or over the net?
actual
It's
online
online
co-op.
multiplayer.
Oh, nice, solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's DRM free as well, so you can play it over a LAN connection if you need it.
Hmm.
Uh, Very easy game to get into.
Hmm.
Really good.
And I want to point out, like, if anyone else like me is kind of unaware or new to these games,
Hmm.
it has the sharing mechanic with your friends.
Hmm.
So you're not really grinding your gears 12 hours a day
Hmm.
to get something. Even if you have a friend who's good at it, they can just guide you or even share items with you, and that makes the process so simple and so painless.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a good breaking point for someone getting into indies.
Ah,
Yeah,
nice.
Starbound, definitely.
All right. I'll go next. For me, it's My Friend Pedro. Extremely linear game. Don't try to find your own paths or routes. It's a side scroller. It tells you which way to go, but the shooting mechanics are unmatched in a side scroller, especially the ability to aim in two different directions at once. Like you feel like you're straight out of the Matrix or something. And the story is exceptional. Like not exceptional by movie standards, but for like if you look at My Friend Pedro, you think okay, some horrible little story they'll have, but no.
Right.
the story is good by that level, and it's nice fun to play. Single player only, and should probably waste around 6-7 hours of your time, but good fun.
And it's got some sense of
Nice.
humor, like to the base story itself, right? Like you are
Hmm.
playing a banana or something, aren't you?
You're paying a guy who thinks he's talking to a banana.
Right. Okay.
So
Much
Wow.
better. Okay.
he's having like he's so screwed in the head. He's seeing a banana talk to him and guide him and tell him who to kill, which is the worst part.
Oof.
But good fun over. Um,
That's amazing.
Smoke. You want next?
Uh, this is one interesting game I was playing. It's not recently, but it was months ago. It's called Kona. It's a survival game. It's not like a co-op survival game. It's just single player survival.
Hmm.
The story is about you crashing into the wilderness. It's cold out. You have to survive through these segments you go through. Like, so there's one segment you have to pass, and then you go through another segment, and the story is actually pretty good. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't expect it to be that great because normally with survival games they overlook the story in favor for gameplay mechanics, like in
Hmm.
the forest.
Yeah.
But yeah, this definitely the story is something you should. I definitely recommend this game if you want to get
And
it.
what do you
Right.
think about the soundtrack? Because
Kona soundtrack.
yeah.
I mean, nothing too great, honestly. It was all right, but
Hmm.
nothing not noteworthy. I would say the soundtrack.
Okay. It's a FPS, right? First person shooter.
It's a first-person survival game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. Looks interesting. And finally, Lucifer. All yours.
Yeah, so since you all covered, games with extreme gameplay mechanics and great things, I also somewhat have been mostly focused on games with very good gameplay or things to do and all that. That was until recently where I didn't have a PC a couple of years back. So I'm going to recommend an old game which I really enjoyed playing in my laptop. It's Cathy Rain. It's a point and click
Mm.
adventure video game. It's actually pretty good. I still recall it. I have to play it sometime. So it's very, very simple. You don't have a lot to do, just obviously point and click. What really attracted me was the story was very interesting from the beginning till the end. It has this kind of weird fantasy black magic stuff. I couldn't describe it well. I don't know if any of you have played it, but
Hmm.
KM is kind of pixelated arts, 90s based. So
Hmm.
Right.
it was really good for me. Voice acting, and on top of that, it was developed by just one man, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
Hmm.
So it is a 4-year-old game, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, looks pretty interesting, man.
Yeah, it
It's
looks
pretty
solid.
relaxing, right?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about anything. You just play the
Yeah.
game, but you still get very curious once you're
Hmm.
towards the end. You're like very involved in the characters, and you're just like, what's going to happen? It's a single player game, so
How did you find
nothing
it
much to do.
compared to Underworld?
Unavowed is a whole league above this game because it's relatively new, I guess. Unavowed came after this,
Hmm.
and I think Unavowed has a lot of replayability because you can choose to play as a theater actor, you can choose to play as a bar, you can as a server, and you can choose to play as a cop.
Hmm.
So the aspect changes a little bit in Unavowed, and Unavowed has a little more depth and stronger writing.
Hmm.
And graphically, I didn't see much of a difference, but I would still say Unavowed kind of has the edge over this. But Cathy Rain kind of has a lot more soul
Okay.
compared to Unavowed, is what I feel.
Because it looks very interesting.
Don't go with much expectation. Just go to relax, and you will not be disappointed because it has this intro theme which is really good. I always used to play it even after I finished the game.
Okay.
Once you load the game,
Hmm.
you play as Kathy obviously, so
No kidding.
she'll
I
be
only
riding on a
guessed that.
bike. Yeah, so there is a theme where she's riding on the bike, and it's very good. It's very relaxing.
Nice. I will check it out.
Yeah.
The riding on the bike and relaxing music kind of reminds me of Transistor too. Actually,
Hmm.
that's how she travels
Oh
from levels
yeah.
to levels, and with the voice in the back and the music.
Hmm.
Sort of.
This is just music. This is very it's very relaxing. Like, let's put it,
Right.
it's actually pretty
And this
nice.
one scene?
Sorry.
This is on Steam, this game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right. Anyone want to add some closing words, words of wisdom or something?
Just let us game, man. Stop picking on us so much.
All right, fine.
Let us have
All right,
fun.
that's it, guys. We will be back next month, hopefully, if we remember to do this. Otherwise, we'll see you in a year.
All right.
All right. Good night, all.
All right.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.